All right, we're live. Welcome to Talkin Investing with Tom and George. The U.S. stock market was closed today, but crypto never sleeps. A lot of stuff happened this week. Big reversals in AI. Some big news from Meta. Bitcoin rallied big time. What we used to call the Bitcoin miners did not. We had some significant announcements, one of which was not well received at all. In fact, people were furious. So we got a lot to go through today. What's going on, George?
I'm trying to get everybody to see my shirt. But
hey, that's a sharp shirt.
It has a whole bunch of American flags on it. Weekly U.S. stock market recap, AI, crypto, and techno stock. Welcome back, everyone. If you're new to the channel, every week we break down what happens in the U.S. financial markets, focusing on AI, cryptocurrency, techno stocks, and the biggest stories that affects investors. Let's jump into it right now. The Dow Jones, man, off the chain, off the hizzy for shizzy manizzy. One of the biggest stories is excitement around AI, but which way is it going? Is it a bubble that's ready to burst? Tom's going to tell us more. This isn't chatbots anymore. We are building technology that could change businesses, healthcare, manufacturing, social media, aka George, transportation, education, and every industry for the next decade. Earlier this year's investor was rewarded almost any company you mentioned with artificial intelligence, but things have changed. Meta had an outstanding week, but it slowly disappeared. So where are we going next? NVDA, Palantir, MU? How do you say that? MU, what is it?
MU is for Micron, and that is one of the big stocks that we're definitely going to talk about today. You just hit a lot of the list, George. That was a bunch of stuff. You got more?
I got more. I could go on and on and on. But here's the other thing I wanted to tell you. Bad news is good news for the Fed. Maybe Tom and George are right. Do you guys know what we're talking about? Sorry, that was the only other thing I had to say.
We're definitely going to talk about that because we have been pounding the table on this, and to no surprise to me or George,
yeah, I text. Yep,
we're gonna talk about
absolutely.
We're gonna talk about the Fed, etc. Sour Melon Gaming. Thank you for the super chat.
Million.
Thank you for being a longtime member. 800 million. Are you effing kidding me? We are going to talk all about that. I'm going to break that down. I'm going to tell you what I think about it. It might surprise some of you guys, but I'm going to give my honest opinion on what I think. Now, this has to do with IREN, so just to not leave people in the dark, we're gonna talk about this. Maybe we'll do it first. We'll see what happens. I want to give you my impression of what I think of this particular piece of news and my impression of what I think the impact it's going to have on IREN as an investment. IREN has an unbelievable amount of news over the last couple of weeks, and it's been a roller coaster ride. Having said that, you're going to see the last 2 full weeks have been a bit of a nightmare for IREN. So is it justified? Is it oversold? I will let you know what I think, and then we will definitely do a poll and let you guys decide what you think. Do us a favor, if you could, please. The only thing we ask is that you smash the like button. We're going for 150 likes. Today was a holiday in the U.S. Technically, tomorrow is Independence Day, but it's officially celebrated on Friday. So this day was a day off. And so happy Independence Day for anybody in the United States. Happy day for everyone around the world. Drop in the chat where you happen to be joining us from. I know we get people from all over, so all are welcome. And Sour Melon Gaming, thank you for bringing that up. We got to talk about that. And 800 million is the number they're putting on it. That's light. That's light. It's way more than that. We'll get into it.
Isn't that amazing? 220 shares now. So I had 15. So we're talking about the ABTC reverse split from 15 to 1.
Yes, a 1 to 15 reverse stock split. Thank you, George, from ABTC, which did take place technically, I think, at the closing bell yesterday. So if you own that, your accounts might look a little funny today. It usually takes, a day for the programs to catch up with what happened. So don't freak out. You still have the same amount of equity. It's just a gigantic. So for all the reverse stock splits, and that has been a topic of conversation, particularly in 2022, almost every one of our stocks was in penny stock territory. And, we had ongoing bets. Who's going to be the first one to have to do a reverse stock split? To say how long Sour Melon Gaming's been a member, that was 4 years ago, and we were debating whether or not, at the time, Bitfarms, now Keel, was going to have to do a reverse stock split. They got down to 37 cents. I mean, it seemed inevitable that they were going to have to do a stock split. But ABTC is not going to wait. They're doing it. It's done. So we'll see if that helps. Their price is coming back down to earth. Their market cap is coming back down to earth. So I don't own any of that, but it certainly looks a lot better than it did, 85% ago, where it was, not too long ago. So that stock's gotten beaten up badly, but maybe the valuation's getting to the right place.
I'm just telling you, it's going to be a long summer for crypto.
You're predicting a long summer for crypto. Well, it's funny because all of a sudden, this goes to the hyper speed. And this is going to be a theme in several topics we discussed today, and it's a growing theme on this channel. We are moving at hyper speed. News that seems like it's the most important thing in the entire stock market today, oftentimes, no exaggeration, oftentimes the very next day is deemed irrelevant or outdated or superseded. And I have a specific example from an article on June 30th that I'm going to show you that by July 1st, every single talking head in the market disagreed with 100%. So did the entire universe change as we slept overnight between June 30th and July 1st? Or are people overreacting to every single thing that happens in the market? And this is why we have volatility. Now, I'll tell you, Wall Street loves this. Big money loves this. Hedge funds love this. The more volatility, the better, as long as they're driving the volatility bus, because they make money on the way up, on the way down, right? If, let's say, for instance, you hold, I'm going to say, let's go with something that's moved. Let's go with IREN, since we're going to talk about that a lot today. Let's say you owned IREN, and it, over the course of a couple of years, it goes from $20 to $80 or $100. Well, that's a monumentally good move for a retail investor. That's a 3 or 4x that we would consider great. But for hedge funds, if it can go from $6 to $75, down to $30, back up to $74, back down to $38, this is all within the last 4 months. So they just by magnitudes increase the amount of money they were able to make, with the stock still all trading in the very same range. So the volatility is on purpose. It's not going anywhere. It's getting worse. It's going to keep getting worse. So, some of you may decide to play that through calls, whether you're calls or puts, options, and whether you're buying them or selling them. Some covered calls. There's a lot of different ways, or just buying and selling the stock, But I'm always a little bit afraid to play the guessing game because the hedge funds have a pretty good idea which way things are going. Big money does because they have all the money. They're pointing it in a direction. We don't. We just got to try and read the tea leaves and follow, ride the wave, if you will. I'm just reading some of the comments for a second here. Bitcoin having a little bit of a dead cat bounce, but I think August and September are going to be bad months. So a lot of people think that a lot. Still, the overwhelming narrative is that at the earliest, we're looking at October before we get a rebound for Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that that's true. That doesn't mean that I agree with that. It's just the overwhelming narrative right now. But I'm going to go. I have a bunch of bull case scenario headlines and articles that I'm going to go through. I have a bunch of bear case scenario headlines and articles that I'm going to go through. These are all from just the last few days, and this is every few days. And this is what I say. It's like it's a ping pong ball. It's just going back and forth and back and forth. And I will tell you that, I was pretty adamant that I thought 60,000 was the bottom. So on Monday and Tuesday of this week, we pretty much lost 60,000 and we kind of hung on at 59 for a day. And then we lost 59,000 and we kind of hung on at 58,000 for a day. And then really, from a technical standpoint, if you were reading the charts, once you lost that 60, we had bounced off that many times. I'm going to go to the one-day chart. This yellow line right here is 60, right? This held right here. This held right here. You got to go back a ways, all the way back to October of 2024 before this line was even tested again. So to me, this was an extremely strong line. And ordinarily, when you see, we had not closed below this in, well over a year. And we did on Thursday of last week. And then we did again on Friday on Friday of last week, we closed at $60,002. So my line's actually at $60,200, but 60,000 is the line we've been talking about. So we closed below it one day and then we got back above it. And then the next day we closed at 59,934. So this is on Saturday. On Sunday, we dropped down to 59,474, all on low volume over the weekend. None of that was really a tell, especially since on Monday, we jumped back above it to 60,162 at the close. But it was Tuesday, we closed at 58,523. That was our members-only stream. That's about where we were when we were doing our members-only stream. And I had said, the first thing I had said is, at this point, I have to admit, 60 was not the low. We closed below 60. 58's really the new low. So this is a lower low. I mean, it just technically is. Having said that, I did say on Tuesday, if we turn around tomorrow and get back to 60,000, then I would still consider this a fake out. This is such a tight range that it's not a signal that we've lost support. And what happened the very next day, we turned right back around and closed at 59,961. Yesterday, we closed at 61,484. And right now, we're at 62,700. I mean, we're almost $5,000 up from the bottom of 3 days ago. So this is a pretty solid move to the upside, and it's why I think the jury is still out. I still feel like 60,000 is a very strong line of support, and I think it has a very good chance of holding. Now, obviously, this was put to the ultimate test, and it looked like it failed. But once again, we managed to hang on. But I'm going to show you that I do have lines below this because we just can't ignore the fact that, this, I still believe this is going to hold, but maybe it will, maybe it won't. If it doesn't, in my mind, somewhere under 54,000 is what comes next. I got a line at 53,500. And if that doesn't hold, I have a line at around 49,000. I'm seeing mine's off a little from everybody else's, but listen, this is an art, not a science. I see a lot of 48,000s out there. That seems to be consensus. I'm looking more at 49,000, but either which way, there's really no difference if we get down to 49 or 48. Those are from here. You're talking about if we go get down to 48, that's a 23% move to the downside. That's its own bear market from where we are right now. So I'm not anticipating that. We have, and I'm just going to draw this in real time, and I'm not going to leave it here because it's a mess, but we hit a lower low. This is the 1-day time frame. We hit a lower low. Like I said, 60,000 did not hold. We closed down here. That was a lower low. It's just a fact. However, in that exact same period of time, on the daily RSI, we hit a higher low. This is a clear bounce, right? We got down to as low as 15.5 on the daily RSI. And remember, on that day, I said, listen, this is historically low. The 1 day, the 1 week were at or near the lowest they've ever been in the history of Bitcoin. And the same was true for Ethereum, and the same was true for XRP. Just historic lows. Now, we had a bounce and a pullback to a lower low, but the RSI only ever got down to 30.22. That's double what it got down to on the previous low at the beginning of the month. So this is a super crystal clear bullish divergence on the 1-day time frame. So for those of you who care about technicals, and again, listen, this could be nullified. There's 1,000 signals. I like to look at as many as I can. A lot of them have a good level of accuracy. None of them are perfect, but this is a really clear signal. I think the 1 day has a bullish divergence. I think the 1 week has a bullish divergence. This just looks like to me we're about to take the next leg up. Having said that, I've said that before, only to go retest 60,000 again and again and again. So we will see, but I'm a little more optimistic. I'm going to put a poll up. Let's see what you guys think.
I think it has to do with the Clarity Act. It really does. But I was just thinking about something. Can you imagine if we get a rate cut in July and the Clarity Act passes? It's a different year. That will affect the rest of the year. And it'll be amazing.
There's no doubt. Those are game changers.
Yeah.
But much like, we keep revisiting 60,000, we keep kicking the can down the road on this Clarity Act. We were all really kind of hoping. I know we had talked about the 4th of July as a good goal for that, and it didn't happen, and I have very little confidence in those people getting anything done. That's just
who that's what we got, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom, was it 800 million per CEO, or was it a total of 800 million in IREN?
It's a total of 800 million, and I'm going to argue it's upward of somewhere between 1.5 and 3 billion in reality. And listen, just because there's co-CEOs, you don't cut that number in half, right? Most companies have one CEO. At the CEO position, they are going to get essentially bonus or incentive. And I'm going to go through. You want to do that next? You want to go through what happened there? Yeah. Because it's staggering. It's absolutely staggering.
Tom, do it. Do it.
Do it. Just do it.
Do it.
So we
do
got.
it.
What is it?
I'm Harry Finkelstein. Remember?
Yeah.
Finkelstein.
Will Bitcoin hold the $58,000 to $60,000 range? So I used to say 60,000, but in reality, we got down to 58. Are we going to hold that, or are we going lower?
No, do it. No, it's not going to hold. Do it.
Do it. Just do it. Oh, that was somebody else.
That one, everyone.
I'll drop in the comments.
Let's see if anybody knows that. Do it. That was a classic. I had that car too. I'll give you a little hint. I had the car.
Pogo said, yeah, drop your guesses in the comments section.
Bringing down the hizzy Fazizzi Manizzi. Sorry, I don't get out much. This is my only interaction I have with society.
This is George's big day out, and that is not true. He's out nonstop. All right, so let's
do it. I dare you. Good one, Will.
Let's talk.
Nice. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Let's get to what I think everybody wants to talk about first, which is IREN. IREN came out with, I call it a shocker. So I'm going to walk through this. We won't take forever. I'll try and be as brief as I can, but a lot went on here, and I really want to dissect it a little bit because I think it's important to understand what it means, what we feel about it, and then what does it mean for the company, because those are all different questions. So I'm going to start out by telling you, before I even begin, as a shareholder, I'm pissed. I think this is ridiculous. So now I'll get into the details, but I've given you the spoiler alert. I am not pleased. So here we go. IREN grant. Now, that doesn't mean I'm sold all my stock. We'll talk about that part of it after. IREN grants $18.2 million in restricted stock to the co-CEOs. So there's brothers that own this company. They're co-CEOs. They're both members of the board. IREN approved grants for 9,099,328 restricted stock units for each of the co-CEO William Roberts and Daniel Roberts on June 30th, according to Form 8K filed with the SEC. And we're going to look at the Form 4s they filed to show you what's going on and why it ticks me off. The awards are subject to a 6-year combined vesting and holding schedule, and neither executive will receive any other incentive grant until the company's 2031 fiscal year. I want to talk about those things a little bit in detail because I believe that's wildly misleading. Okay, so the awards are subject to a 6-year combined vesting and holding schedule. That's true, but let me go into a little detail. It's spread out over the next 4 years. A quarter, and over the next 4 years. Each time they get shares of stock, they have to hold them for 2 years before they can sell them. So the first quarter will be available for sale in 3 years, the second one in 4 years, and then 5 years, and then by 6 years, they can sell all of these if they want to. So that's the structure. They'll have them all in 4. They can sell them all within 6, but starting as early as year 3. So that's what the structure of this deal is. To put it in perspective, 18 million shares is 5% of the company. So we have had conversations over the last 5 years. If I were to pick the top 5 biggest complaints, if I were to pick the top 2 biggest complaints, one of them would be officer compensation. The other one would be stock dilution. Those two win by a mile nothing's actually even in third place. So I have had thousands of comments regarding officer compensation. It's something shareholders have not liked inside of this space. Well, this compensation package right here dwarfs anything that I've seen. These guys are getting paid CEO of Google type money. Right? This is not Google. This is not Microsoft. This, to me, this is wildly too much. In addition to that, they've made several deals. They have convertible debt, so that could be a source of future dilution. They have, I think, 30 million shares. I got to check the number that NVIDIA has the option to buy at $70 a share. So that could be some massive dilution coming. Now, at least with those shares, they're going to get $2.1 billion in payments at a valuation of $70 a share, drastically higher than where the stock trades today. That doesn't mean NVIDIA's ever going to take those, right? And convertible debt doesn't mean it's ever going to convert. There's many ways to avoid converting any of that convertible debt. But there's a lot of dilution coming. They need to raise a lot more money to build out this company. So out of what feels like absolute outer space from me comes 18 million share, 5% stock dilution. For what? And that is not a knock on the CEOs. I think they've done an incredibly good job. I think they've gotten this thing right. But I want to show you where they stand right now, because it's important to put this in context. I'll make this a little bigger. Hopefully you guys can see it. This is Greg Roberts. So there's two brothers. William Gregory Roberts. They they had to do Form 4s. And basically that's disclosing their stock position. So you'll see ordinary shares on July 1st, 9,099,328. Now, we just went through the fact that those will vest over time. It's important to understand they are not contingent on anything other than these people continuing to breathe, right? They don't have to meet any thresholds. The company doesn't have to achieve any profitability or growth or anything. This has just been awarded and it will be done. So it is dilution. Here's the problem. They both already have 23 million shares of the company. So they have been, what's the justification to give them another 9 as a shareholder, as a member of the board of directors, as a person on the compensation committee? You say to yourself, all right, these guys started the company. They own 23 million shares. Let me just do some quick math. That's over $1 billion, a week ago. Their stock has slipped. So they're each into this company for well over $1 billion. There is nobody on earth more invested in the success of this company than William Gregory Roberts, except for his brother, who has the exact same amount of interest in this company. That does not count their salaries, their bonuses, etc. So as you're passing out compensation packages, you're trying to incentivize people. I could even see saying, listen, they've been directionally correct on this. Things are going well. Let's continue to give them incentives. But this is the type of incentive that, in my opinion, you would only see if a CEO maybe came in late, did a turnaround, right? Took a bad company, turned it into a turnaround story. It's now on the right track. But because they weren't there from the beginning, they didn't already have $1 billion worth of stock. So now you go, you know what? These guys, we got to get them invested in the future of this company. We got to get them some big money over a 4 to 6 year period, which keeps them engaged for that period, and incentivize them in a way that they are not currently incentivized because they just got here, let's say 1, 2, 3 years ago. They own very little of the company. They have a nice salary, but guess what? This could be a nice stepping stone to a bigger, better job, right? Nothing's tethering them to this company, unlike 23 million shares like these guys already had. So I can't find any line of reasoning where this makes sense in any way, shape, or form. So to me, this is just here you go. Here's a gift. So I don't like it. I'm going to give you the flip side of that right now. How does it affect the company? I don't think this affects the company negatively, other than in the short term, it's going to piss off investors, in my opinion, rightfully so. And I'm not saying these guys, listen, I'm going to go through what these guys did, and they got it right, in my opinion. So I'm not even arguing that. What I'm saying is, just as a business, this was not the next logical step. And you won't find the equivalent of this anywhere else. Let's just say if you do, it's a wild outlier. This is not how this is done. So, and I'll tell you, it was that time of year. Everybody had to file their Form 4s. Frank over at Hive got 5 million shares of stock. I'm sorry, 500,000. Right, so he's the chairman of the board. He's the CEO of the company. He's not the CEO anymore. He used to be. He got 500,000 shares. These guys got 9 million. Here's a much better example. Ben Gagnon got 500,000 shares. This is a perfect example. Ben did just step up from operations to CEO. He is turning the company around. Their stock is up drastically since he got the CEO position, but he doesn't have this massive pile of stock built up because he wasn't, he was a part of the C-suite, you could argue, but he wasn't he was not a financial officer. He was not an officer of the company, and he certainly wasn't the CEO. So those things make sense to scale. 500,000 versus 9 million is a monumental difference. And all of these companies have, not dissimilar outstanding shares. So, it's basically apples to apples. So I don't think this was good. I think it's going to upset shareholders. It is dilution. Now, it's dilution over the next 6 years. It's really dilution over the next 4 years. There's going to be a lot more dilution. So by the time this is kind of a backwards argument, but the reality is by the time they get all these shares, it will no longer be 5% of the company because they will have issued a multitude of other shares for other things. So my guess is this is going to end up being about a 3.5% of the company, but that's still massive. But it doesn't really change the math on their stock. So I do think that this is a overreaction. It's a combination of a reaction with the other big thing that we're going to talk about. All of these stocks were already tanking for a different reason. This just compounded it for IREN. So
Tom, how is that legal? How is it legal that they get the? Is it because it's something in the bylaws say that the board can do this?
It's legal because, and they could get sued on this. They'll whoever sues them will either lose or get a nuisance payment. It is legal because while these guys are the founders and co-CEOs of the company, they are directors on the board of directors. Neither one of them is the chairman of the board of directors, and neither one of them is on the compensation committee, which means an independent group of people ultimately opined on this and said, let's do it. Why they did that? I don't know. You got me. I'm pretty sure most shareholders would not like this plan, but maybe I'm wrong. So they have, if they want to dot their I's and cross their T's, I think they've done so. And listen, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know what other legal avenues there are, but I think they're covered. My guess would be there'll be a lot of noise about this, but it is what it is.
I know, no one cares. You know what? I heard somebody complaining. I said, what do you do? I was at the airport, with the private jets and all that. I said, what do you guys do when people complain about this stuff? He goes, oh, I just accelerate on the jet. You can't hear anybody.
There you go. That's what the people over at CleanSpark are doing on their private jet. Not that I object to that in any way. So this is
funny. It's funny you brought up CleanSpark real quick, so I got to lighten the mood a little bit. I saw, I was on YouTube, scrolling, and somebody was sponsoring CleanSpark was sponsoring these no names, and I was just like, oh, I wonder why that is.
What sponsoring? Like
people talking, like you and I do. They were sponsoring somebody.
Gotcha.
You know what happened.
Yeah. We're going to talk about a sponsorship. It's funny you should mention that. I'm going to go there next because, IREN, some people are pretty ticked off about this as well. I think this is much less of a big deal, but it's a bit of a head scratcher. I'm going to explain why I think they did it. I get it. It's already paid off a little bit. It has to do with the press release they did today, but let's keep talking. So this is what they did. And here's why I say it's a lot more money than the $800 million they're reporting.
Well, did they give out stock to the rest of the employees?
There will be separate stock options and compensation for the rest of the employees. But I can tell you this, all the rest of the employees in the company all put together aren't going to get a tiny small fraction of what each one of these guys got. So, and that includes the rest of management, etc. I mean, this is an outsized, massive. Now, the second piece of this, I'm going to go back and let me see. The second piece of this was they said, the awards are subject to a 6-year combined vesting and holding schedule, and neither executive will receive another equity incentive grant until the company's 2031 fiscal year. So they're saying, look, this isn't a 1-year thing. This is a 4-year thing. So this is their bonus for the next 4 years. In addition to that, it's got a 2-year delay on them being able to sell it, and we're not going to do any more. Well, guess what? If next year's committee decides they want to give them another 9 million shares, I've seen nothing that prohibits them from giving them more. There is no. Now, if we get some language later, and I suspect we won't because it was not worded this way at all in their filing, there is nothing that prohibits them from getting any further incentives. All they're saying is it's management's intention to not give them any more incentives for the next 4 years. So how's everybody going to feel if next year they get another 1 million shares? Now, I would take them at their word, except this is, to me, such an unusual reward, I will call it, that, that I do have doubt in my head about that. And maybe they'll close the door on that when we get final language on all this and completely eliminate the possibility of them getting any further compensation. Right now, this basically just says we do not intend to give them any other shares of stock above and beyond. They're still going to get their salary. They're still going to get bonuses. They're just not going to get these equity incentives for the next 4 years. That's their intent. And Sour Mountain Gaming saying, IREN better get to $500 a share, damn it. And let me tell you, I did the math on this, and they're not getting to $500 a share. Because with the amount of dilution they have to do from here to there, and this is another 18 million shares out of left field, at $500 a share, they're going to be like a $400 billion market cap company. So I still think I got a $75 short-term price target on them. I got a $150, 18-month price target on them. But from there on out, they better have won the whole game. And they are, one of the top 5 players in this space, or they're not running up much more than that, and they could get a pullback.
What this really is piss poor planning, by the way. I hate to tell you this. This was, you know what I mean? They should have never given up their shares. They should have split or whatever earlier instead of giving up their shares if they had control.
Right.
It's just stupid to do this. This is just dumb. This is why I always say this. You need to have somebody that's smarter than you involved in these things. And because this is really piss poor planning. Because why did you ever need to give up the shares in the first place?
There was this 18 million shares, there was no obligation to give them even one of these shares. That doesn't mean they should have given them zero. That's all. That's not reasonable on the other end.
When they started the company, why did they take and only have 5%?
Well, they have,
and not, you know what I mean?
They have 23 million shares. And remember, all of these companies dilute. At one point, that was probably the majority of the shares in the company. But as you want to go from a privately traded $100 million market cap company to a publicly traded $50 billion market cap company, you're going to dilute over time. So I understand that piece of it. I don't understand the massive. They're already billionaires without this. So let's see them win first before they get the next billion. Because remember,
I think it was Rockefeller. Did he say how much is enough money?
Right, exactly.
Just $1 more.
So the reason I say it's 800 million is being kind. The stock just got cut in half in the last pretty much month. So if it gets back to where it was a month ago, these share numbers remain the same. Then it's not an $800 million bonus. It's a $1.6 billion bonus just to get back to where it was, 6 weeks ago. So this will be in all likelihood. I don't think IREN is going to fail. I think they're going to succeed. I think this company is going to have great success despite recent activity. But I do think we're going to feel this for a short period of time. But like I said earlier, we're on hyperspeed, short-term memory. The news cycle moves on. So this too shall pass, but I don't like it. It doesn't make sense.
Well, what's next, Tom? Tell us something good.
Okay. So I want to do 2 more things because they did some more stuff. IREN stock is crashing, and it's not entirely about the Meta threat. we're going to talk about and I'm not even going to get into this article at all. I just merely do it to point out the fact that we're going to talk about this next. Meta is what crashed all of these stocks. And I'm going to tell you what I think about that, because once again, that's really what my thumbnail was about. We are being duped. It's working. These stocks got destroyed, and it on what is, in my opinion, absolute nonsense. So we'll see if you guys agree or disagree with that. But I'm going to go through and explain what I think this deal means, why everybody already knew it. This is one of those things where everybody knew something. There was one little wrinkle, and everybody changed the whole narrative to it's the end of the world. So we're going to talk about that next. But IREN went down so dramatically, not just because of this compensation, but because all these stocks got crushed by the Meta announcement. Then give me just a second. Okay. IREN stock heads for the 9th straight loss. They were down 9 days in a row. We're going to look at this stock. They have been getting decimated. And they mention a $50 million a year NBA spend and $788 million co-founder pay package. We talked about the pay package. I want to talk about this $50 million a year NBA spend for a minute. It's making some people angry. And it is a little bit, just to put it in perspective, to me, $50 million a year for a company like this is a small amount of money. It's not to be dismissed. It's still $50 million a year. And we don't want people throwing their money away. But I'm going to tell you why I think they've done that. And there is a line of reasoning. But also, this deal is a lot larger magnitude than I gave it credit for when I read it. And I'll tell you why. I asked Google, what is the richest corporate sponsorship deal in athletics history with a team in North America? The richest corporate sponsorship deal in North American athletics history is the $50 million plus per year multi-year jersey patch and partnership agreement signed by the NBA's Golden State Warriors and AI cloud provider IREN. They just signed the biggest sponsorship deal in North American history. It's not in the world. There's soccer or football, internationally known as, teams that have deals that dwarf this. But in North America, in the United States, this is the biggest sponsorship deal ever. And you'll see the Golden State Warrior uniforms literally right front and center have IREN's logo on them. And so will the Valkyrie, which is their WNBA team. So will their minor league team. So now, why would they do that with the Golden State Warriors? Golden State is in San Francisco. Silicon Valley is in San Francisco. These guys are literally, when I say, earlier I said, they'll earn this if they end up being one of the winners. They're looking to be one of the winners. The rest of the group that we look at, IREN in their mind is going to end up many magnitudes bigger than the next closest player. They think they're going to scale up to a 100, 200, 300, 400 billion dollar company. And they want the people in Silicon Valley to know who they are and what they're doing for two reasons. It's all their potential customers, and if you look at this press release that they just put out, IREN appoints Chief Product Officer and Chief Development Officer. So let me just find what I'm looking for here.
Is that going to be Sue?
So the Chief Product Officer joins them from Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Where's Oracle? In Silicon Valley. The chief development officer joins them from his senior role at Google. This is the talent they're trying to recruit and retain. So it's twofold. They want the talent from the talent pool that's all in Silicon Valley, which is essentially San Francisco, which is exactly where the Golden State Warriors play. But more than that, let me see if I saved the answer to this. Just a second. Okay. Again, this is Google, so this is Gemini response. Simple question. Which of the top 20 largest market cap companies are headquartered in Silicon Valley? Okay, Silicon Valley giants in the top 20. NVIDIA, biggest company in the world. Apple, currently the third biggest company in the world. Alphabet, currently the second biggest company in the world. Meta Platforms, another Mag 7. Broadcom, one of the top 10 biggest companies of the world. The only ones that aren't in Silicon Valley are Microsoft and Amazon.
SpaceX
are in a space that, well, there's going to be a Mag 8 and 9 and 10 probably, and whatever they'll end up calling it. But Tesla, right? They moved to Texas. They were Silicon Valley, and they said, we've had it, and they moved. So who's IREN's biggest customer is going to be?
Them.
Right. So that is why you are correct. So that's why every time anyone, and you can guarantee every company I just mentioned and then some, because there's a lot of other big tech companies in Silicon Valley. Every one of those has a corporate box at the Golden State Warriors arena. So every time any one of them goes there or brings any of their influential people there, they're all going to be looking at IREN logos on every jersey on the court. So this was not random. I'm not in love with it, but it's not, there was a reason behind this. And, it makes some sense to me. And again, $50 million for what these guys want to do. If they can recruit talent and get some deals, if they get one deal off of it, it pays. They could sponsor the Golden State Warriors for 100 years if this brings them one deal. And that's how I try to look at marketing. I'm going to spend X on this. How many deals do I need to get to justify that? Am I going to get 0 deals on that? Right? Obviously, then that doesn't justify it no matter how much you spend. Is it going to take 5 deals for me to break even? Is it going to take 10 deals? It's going to take 1 deal. So I think it's probably going to end up being money well spent, even though it may seem a little frivolous. And I was a little shocked to see that it was the biggest deal ever made from a sponsorship standpoint for an athletic team. So lastly, and then I will move on from IREN, the only analyst, this says Riot, but it's really IREN. The only analyst to put out an update since all of this occurred was Bernstein. He's a 5-star analyst. He reiterated his buy rating and kept a $100 price target on IREN stock. So while this is a lot of noise, the only actual analyst to weigh in on this thinks IREN to 100. So I'm kind of with this person. I think we're going to see, a lot of people didn't have very much time to respond to this. This came out the 1st. It's now the 3rd, and, there's no business in the United States today. So next week, I would guess you'll get at least 3 more analysts to come out and put a price target on this. And it'll be interesting to see if they reiterate their buys or if they're getting shaky on this. Because the next thing we're going to talk about is what Meta did and why now all of a sudden everybody believes AI is dead. Stick a fork in it. It's done. So that's the new world, which is why if you look on Thursday, which was the last trading day of the United States, all of these stocks, all the chip stocks destroyed. Right, let me just go real quick and take a look at, right, Micron. This has been the hottest stock in the market. Down 5%, and it was down dramatically the day before that. So, if we look at a real chart here, from the close on Tuesday to the close on Thursday, Micron was down 16%. From its peak just a few days earlier, it's down 22.5%. This is a stock that's been going up in a straight line. I bought some on this pullback. I bought some Micron under 1,000. We'll see if that's a good idea or a bad idea. Is it? Because I'll tell you, the word on the street is game over for Micron. It's game over for SK Hynix. It's game over for Samsung. It's game over for, look at SanDisk. You think this is bad? To the bottom, 28 to the close, 26% for SanDisk. Right, and just in this one day, SanDisk was down 14% on Thursday, yesterday. I mean, this got taken out. In addition to that, if we go back and look at the list of stocks we follow, IREN down 10%, CIFR down 12%, TeraWulf down 10%, Keel down 14%, HUT 8%, BitDR 10%, Cleanspark 7%, Riot 7%, Marathon 7%. These guys got wrecked. Core Scientific down just under 10%. ABTC down 10%. They just were along for the ride. We're going to talk about Microstrategy later. It was green on the day because that's the third big topic. Big things happened with Microstrategy, with Strategy, ticker Microstrategy, since the last time we talked. George, do you know how many likes we're at? If you could smash the like button, we would really appreciate it. It does help the channel out a lot. Thank you guys.
54.
54. We're going for 150. We need a lot of help. It's a holiday. It's a day off.
55.
So, all right. We're going to get the real-time like count ticker. We should have a little thing in the corner.
Tom, I made an enemy on YouTube.
You did? What happened?
This guy, and I'm going to put his video up if you guys want to watch it and see what happens when people don't understand Bitcoin. He bought Bitcoin. He's got a good following. And he sold it. He bought it at the hype and sold it at the low.
Oops.
And it's like, and he starts listing all these things that were the same when he bought it. Like all the reasons why not to buy it. And it was just disturbing. And it was just like, and so I wrote on him, you can't borrow somebody else's convictions. My friend Tom taught me that one. That one sounds like an easy statement, but it's probably the hardest statement out there.
It's right. It's a simple truth that is very hard. You got to have a lot of discipline to follow that. And, that's why I try, I've been watching a lot more YouTube videos lately to try and get a sense of what is going on, what the word on the street is, if you will. I've been watching, CNBC and Bloomberg and all the different financial channels more to just see what people are talking about, because I really feel like everybody's just getting everything wrong, and it's not an accident, and it's not because they're dumb. I don't believe that for one second.
It's like the hottie that goes to school. These college girls that go to school at the hotties in college, and then all of a sudden they make bad life decisions and they hate the world. I'll just leave it at that. It's the same principle. It's because everybody's been telling them, pounding it into their head that, they're wrong.
That's right.
I'm just leaving it very general, guys. I'm not going to get into anything.
Listen, here's the thing. Like, I bought memory stocks this week on the pullback. So while everybody was screaming it's the end of the world and sold them, they sold them to me among millions of other people, because I certainly didn't buy them all. But I backed up the truck on all of my memory chips because I just think you're going to see this as a gift. It's one of these knee-jerk reactions. Let's get another poll up, and then I'm going to go to show you an article as to why I think that and exactly what I'm talking about. We will move on. If you guys think we spent too much time on IREN, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say one thing right now. If I don't talk about these stocks, the comments fill up with, why aren't you talking about these stocks? And then when I do talk about them, the comments fill up with, move on with your life. So it's like, this is one of those, you can please some of the people some of the time. I think most of you appreciate all the conversation. So we certainly appreciate you guys being here, and especially our subscribers, and a special thanks to all of our members. So
I think you got to talk through it, because it's investment. First of all, it's a lot of money. It's a ton of money. I mean, it's just it's $1 billion.
It's by far the biggest compensation package we've ever looked at on this channel. By far. It could be as big as all the rest of them added up put together.
And here's the other thing. You don't know if it was blessed by the hedge funds, if you know what I mean. Not that they control the stock or the company, but I mean, this is the games that we play. They know what's going to happen in their company. They know the type of growth that they have coming up. They know the type of deals that are already signed that are going to be announced. And, I hate to say this, but this could be, not really coordinated, but it could be more or less, spoken about, so that, there's an opportunity for people to get maybe better deals. I'm not saying that's the case here at all, but I'm just saying you never know what people are talking about, because it's like I said, you don't know what deals are going to get announced. We could get 4 or 5 deals announced from IREN in the next 2 months. And everybody forgets this. That's
the bottom line. There's deal flow coming. These are big deals. They're complicated deals. Most of the deals these companies that we look at, they're looking to get multi-billion-dollar contracts. So, they're not just going to go home at night and sign those and, FedEx them in the morning. But the deals will come, and they have to come, at some point they have to come. You also can't make the excuse, well, they're complicated, it takes a long time. You can't, for instance, a company like CleanSpark hasn't had any deals yet. They need a deal. A company like Keel, I don't know who started the whispers, but there's been whispers about multiple deals in the works for quite some time. So to me, those are 2 companies that need to announce a deal in the next whatever the short period of time is. Marathon's never announced a deal. Like, these are the newer players that I think have a lot of potential. I think Keel will announce a deal. I think IREN will continue to announce deals, and they've already announced monster deals. So, but it's going to be, you're right, George, it's going to be about deal flows, not about whether or not their logo's on. But if the logo being on the Golden State Warriors gets them, and I want to just get back to a comment from Old Jock who said, some tech companies will spend $50 million just to hire one person. So, right.
Thanks, Colorado.
That's just
Thank you for discussing this corporate greed. And that's what it is. It's corporate greed. Well, it's actually not corporate greed. Here's what I would say. I would say it's piss poor planning. And I mean, that's honestly the truth of what it is. Because look at how much SpaceX was diluted when they went public. That's a good example. Wouldn't you say that's a good example, Tom?
I think the poor planning part of this is it wasn't necessary.
Right.
It just wasn't necessary. It doesn't make sense. But we'll
but if they wanted to have 20% of the company, you know, if they're 10 years or whatever, that they've been in operation, or 5 years, they should have made sure that they had that amount of.
They're doing. I would argue they're doing the wrong math, because do you want 20% of your? This was a $200 million market cap company 4 years ago, right? Do you want 20% of your $200 million company, or do you want 6% of your $200 billion company? Those two things are not similar.
They want 20% of their $200 billion company.
Well, they didn't have enough money to begin with to make that happen. So that's just not reason. Listen, I got a whole bunch of stuff I want too, and I'm not going to get most of it in this lifetime. So that's just how it works. I'm just going to put a poll, and then we will cease the discussion.
But did you see? Sauer wrote, now Matt looks reasonable.
That's exactly. People went bananas, and that was nothing compared to this.
Nothing. I mean, that's like, yes, absolutely nothing. Yeah, I think they're going to announce a whole bunch of deals. That's personally what I think is going to happen.
All right, I'm just going to put a quick poll. I hope so. It's all about deal flow. Do you think the IREN deals, meaning the deal they just made with their co-CEOs, the deal they made with the Golden State Warriors for $50 million a year to sponsor them, do you think those are going to hurt the stock on a long-term basis? Obviously, the options are yes or no. And the last thing we had was, will Bitcoin hold the $58,000 to $60,000 range? That hovered around 50-50 the entire time. It turned out to be yes 52, no 48. So that was a very close vote.
I said no.
You said, wow, you've been on record. I think yes, but I'm not going to fall out of my chair.
Tom, I think the 4 years still in play, and until it's broken, and it will break if they pass the Clarity Act. Everybody has to hear this. I changed my mind if the Clarity Act passes. I would have to regroup at that point in time. And that brings me to something that you and I talked about on Tuesday. And I said, you know what? I don't really like this company, but it's so undervalued. I would buy the stock out of it. Do you remember what company that is, Tom?
On Tuesday?
Yep.
Oh. I think we talked about Meta on Tuesday.
Yep. Meta. See, guys, if you aren't members, I don't even like Meta, okay? It's just not my cup of tea.
I think you actually said that on the...
Yeah, and I said, though, but look you can see the setup, and who knew that it was going to be as... And I don't think it's over with either, by the way, Tom. I think that thing's got some... I think it's just getting warmed up.
We're going to talk about Meta. It got beaten down with a lot of other companies. I think it didn't make sense to get beaten down. I was buying Meta, and I will admit, I sold it at almost the peak. I'm not a trader. That was a position that, much like my Microsoft position, which I still have, that's a position where I thought this was a big company. They're a cash generating machine. Now, I understand in the short term, they're doing a lot of CapEx, but they're a profitability machine. This is a blue chip company. I can keep some money in here instead of earning 3% or 2% in the bank. those companies significantly outperform that typically over the course of time, especially since they've been hammered on recently. So I had been dollar cost averaging into Meta, and I sold it. It was a little under $620, and I bought Micron shares of MU, shares of Micron. I bought shares of stock ticker DRAM, DRAM, which is an ETF, the largest three positions of which are SK Hynix, Samsung, and Micron, which make the high bandwidth memory. So those are the only three companies on earth that make it. And they're all in that ETF. And there's a bunch of other stuff in that ETF, including SanDisk, Western Digital, some other good players. So, and I also bought for a different thesis, and we talk more about this on the members only stream. I think Micron's undervalued right now. And I don't even know how anybody can think differently. And we're going to go through it quickly. I won't belabor it, but everybody does think differently. Everybody thinks it's wildly overvalued. And if I saw one article on that in the last 48 hours, I saw 100. That was the big theme in the last 2 days. So I disagree. It pulled back big time. The third thing that I bought was AMD. AMD, I do think, is getting rich on valuation at this point. Drastically different valuation than the other stocks I'm talking about. Having said that, it's in the AI space. It's going to be a leader in the AI space. It hasn't had the run-up that a lot of other companies have had, and it's trading on momentum. So I think it's going to double. That's not my normal trade. Something like Micron is my normal trade. I think it's wildly undervalued. It's going through, the market is digesting the fact this is now a different company, in my opinion. A lot of people disagree with that. That's the point of contention. Whoever's right or wrong is going to be the direction that company moves in. AMD, I'm not making that argument. I think that they're already priced to perfection. Having said that, it's why I never short stocks, because price to perfection, I still think it's most likely that they're going to double from here. So that's just a momentum play, which I rarely do, but it just, to me, it seems crystal clear. But that is not financial advice. We all know tomorrow's news could change the whole game. That's just how this goes. Okay. I want to show you guys this because this leads into the Meta announcement and the monumental shift in the stock market. This was June 30th. Mag 7 value shrinks by $2.3 trillion amid AI spending jitters, but investors are still backing the chip makers. That was the sentiment 3 days ago. You know what happened the next day after this article? Every single chip manufacturer tanked, and every single Mag 7 stock had one of the best days they've had in months and months and months. So did the whole world change because Meta put out one press release? Are we in the upside down? Is everything different now? I don't think so. I think Meta put out a press release. It should be given its due. It is of some meaning, but I'm going to go through that press release because I can tell you the entire stock market is treating it like this changes the very nature of the stock market. It changes the very nature of AI, and everybody needs to dramatically reposition their portfolio accordingly. That's the word on the street. I did the contrarian thing. I have a lot of conviction. I went through a lot to finally pull the trigger to buy Micron in the 300s and I missed $100 while I was doing my analysis. I could have got it at 250, got it at 350 or something like that. And it's because it was already up so much. It was up 400%. And I'm not in the business of buying stocks that are up 400%. We are in a different time right now. These companies, they're not the same. It's very similar. I'll give you an example. It's the exact same thing as somebody going, all right, I'm going to do my analysis and try and put a valuation on IREN. And I'm going to do it. If I look at their financial statements, these guys are a Bitcoin miner. That's where all their revenue's from. That's all the historical information available is on Bitcoin mining. They scaled up. They're one of the biggest Bitcoin miners in the world. So let me build a thesis around how IREN's going to do going forward as a Bitcoin miner. When we all know IREN is not a Bitcoin miner anymore. They're getting out of the Bitcoin mining business. They are before the next halving, and they're already well on their way. They're going to be a straight power infrastructure data center player. And they've been crystal clear about that. And Harrison saying, now we're rotating from miners to Bitcoin and Microstrategy. So I will tell you, I spent all of last week dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Solana. That is my cryptocurrency universe. I don't know enough about it to understand what the other 50 medium to large size coins are, or the 50,000 past that. But to me,
No, I'm reading what Dave just wrote.
So I'm happy about that. That paid off. And listen, I was worried. We just looked at it. Tuesday, it looked like everything was going to break to the downside. And we were going to go test lower numbers. So, then I would have had to keep dollar cost averaging in. What I have not bought a single share of in months and months are my 5 biggest positions, other than Bitcoin, which are all IREN's my biggest position. So for those of you who think I've been hating on IREN, that's my biggest position. I did not sell a single share. In fact, I spent about an hour and a half trying to figure out, can I buy some options on IREN? Because this is getting oversold to the point of ridiculousness. And my conclusion was, I'm not the only one who's figured that out, because the premium, I would be willing to venture a guess that the premium on IREN options are the largest premiums on any, non-nano cap stock in the entire stock market right now. And that's not unprecedented. Marathon and Riot for a year carried the largest premiums of any options available in the market. So this is not unfamiliar territory, but the options on IREN are carrying, more premium than that. So I couldn't find anything, and I didn't do it, which is fine. But I'm not buying IREN right now. I'm not buying Riot right now. I'm not buying Cleanspark right now. I'm not buying Keel right now. I bought those for 4 years. Those positions are not only done, but well overdone. So no more money for those. Now I'm building out other parts of my portfolio. So that's a part of it. I bring that up because I think everybody should have a plan for their portfolio. They can't just be, I think this industry is going to win and I'll just play it until it goes to, well, then what? What's next?
I was just looking at the 10K challenge.
Oh, it's probably decimated.
Oh my God, we got up to 65 or 6,700, something like that. 4,200.
You want to see something go crazy? We almost got all the way back to 10,000 from 1,800.
I know.
But that's the volatility that I was talking about earlier. That's what these companies trade on. They love this stuff. They live for this stuff. Do us a favor and smash the like button. We're live for that. 72. We're going for 150, but at this point, if we could get 100, I suppose that would be aiming high. All right, well, let's get rid of this poll. Do you think that IREN deal will hurt the stock long term? Wow, guess what it is, George?
50-50.
Yeah, 50, and it just keeps ticking back and forth. It's 50-50, 51-49. Another split. I'm going to end this. No is winning 51-49, but within the margin of error, that's a 50-50. So the crowd is split on what that's going to do for IREN long term. Just get another poll up real quick.
I'll be right back.
All right, these are easy. Yes and no. Is the memory chip trade dead? Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung, SanDisk, Western Digital. There's a basket of chips. Even for that matter, all the chips. AMD, NVIDIA. Is AI been overblown? We overshot. We overbuilt. Is this dead? Is it over? Like the market told us the last 2 days? So this is just, and I'm going to move on. I don't even want to go through this article. I bring this up to show this was June 30th. June 30th, the narrative was the Mag 7's dead. They've lost $2.3 trillion. But the chips are on fire. Literally, the next morning, the exact opposite trade was dominating the stock market. So, I think, as always, that was overshot by a mile. Let me just find something here.
Tom, my poly market bet isn't looking too good, by the way.
Oh, no? What's happening?
No. I'm getting crushed.
You're getting crushed? It's not over till it's over.
Well, I ain't selling. But I'm getting crushed.
Where's my thing? This is not it. Okay, but I will visit this just for a minute. As long as we're talking about Micron, let's I got to go to one other article first. Give me just a second to find this. Michael Burry says he shorted Micron Technology. We all know who he is, the big short. The real question at this point, 20 years later, is what hasn't he shorted? The big short investor, Michael Burry, has reportedly, and this came out on July 3rd. The big short investor, Michael Burry, has reportedly opened a short position in Micron while adding to 5 existing long positions. In his Substack post, Burry said he shorted Micron at $1,051 per share, calling the chip stock's recent rally driven by, quote, FOMO, fear of missing out, the greater fool theory, and public commitment bias. So that makes me a fool because I bought the dip. So I'll tell everybody I bought Micron on the dip, and somebody's going to be a fool. We'll see who it is.
Hasn't he been wrong about every other thing?
Like a broken clock, when you're short everything that's ever existed from time to time. Now, his original call, what put him on the map, was one of the great calls of all time. So you got to give him credit for that. The housing, the subprime mortgage deal. But since then, he tends to have a negative spin. Burry said, Micron defines cyclical like no other. This is where I have a giant issue. And I talked about this. I've been talking about this for 2 or 3 months. Chip memory in specific. Chips are considered cyclical commodities. They go up, they go down. We have a little shortage. They have a good 6 months or a year, and then they tank. And then all of a sudden there's too much supply. And like every other commodity, this is just the roller coaster that you ride. So Micron has never traded at a good forward price earnings for this reason. He says, adding that the stock has witnessed 34 drawdowns of 30% over the last 42 years. Just as an aside, Bitcoin's done that, more than that, in the last 13 years. Totally different story, apples and oranges. But his point is, this is never a good buy when it's high because it's had 34%. It's had 30% pullback. So his point is every time this gets to a certain point, it's overbought, it's too high, it's FOMO, you got to sell it because they don't have pricing power. Cyclical companies don't have pricing power. And the demand fluctuates. I believe, and I'm not alone, and it's not rocket science. In case anybody has been living under a rock, the number one thing people have talked about for the last 2 years is AI. That's it. The entire stock market is the AI trade. NVIDIA went from a miscellaneous lower end of the S&P 500 stock to the largest company in the world in 2 years because of AI. Micron went from $80 to $1,000 in a year and a half. That sounds like a company that's overbought. That sounds like FOMO. That sounds like chasing a dream. But I'm going to go back to this chart. If you look, Micron looks cheaper than big tech if the profit boom lasts. Here's all of big tech. Apple, which is a well-established company. Apple has 10-15% compound annual growth rates, which is phenomenal for a company. It's the second biggest company in the world right now. It's been the biggest on and off, right? When you can maintain 10-15% growth year over year for decades, that's why you're the biggest company or the second biggest company in the world. They traded a 30 forward PE. Amazon trades at a 22 forward PE. By the way, when Amazon was FOMOing, it was trading at almost a 200 forward PE 7 years ago. Now it's come back down to earth. They're making massively more money, and their stock really hasn't gone anywhere. Google, 27 forward price earnings. The entire S&P 500, Take a stock at random. It's trading at a 22 forward price earnings. Micron's trading at 9. Meaning not only doesn't the market think this is a great company, one of the best companies out there, it thinks it's one of the worst companies out there. So if you think a 9 forward PE is FOMO or the greater fool, then I guess we're going to find out in the next year what the answer to that question is. If the brand new, as of yesterday, if the brand new narrative is right, that everybody spent way too much money on AI, there's no demand for this as they have anticipated, and demand's about to fall off a cliff while supply is ramping up as fast as it can. That's the narrative. And there is a lot of supply coming online. By the way, that's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years to come online. I can tell you, Micron's been building a plant in New York. They're 2.5 years into it, and they haven't moved any dirt yet. So,
do you hear? I was just listening to one that's in Virginia, outside of Norfolk,
New Jersey. Now you got me. I can't say.
Did you say Norfolk?
That's not what I said.
Norfolk, Virginia. It was. Listen to how big it is. 2,100 acres.
Yeah, these things are massive.
Can you imagine? 2,100 acres.
They're building this infrastructure. They haven't even begun to build out the infrastructure. This is one of the memory is probably the two biggest bottlenecks.
Why can't we just take over Cuba and make that a data island?
I don't think that's how it works, but I could be wrong.
I'm serious. I was thinking about that.
Oh,
I mean, we should be taking over countries left and right.
I will not weigh in on that in any way, shape, or form.
Now I understand why Trump wanted Greenland.
Not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
You could put Greenland. We could put data center in Greenland.
We could put a lot of. I'll give you that. We could put a lot of data centers in Greenland.
And I wonder if it's Newfuck, Greenland.
It's oh, brother. Smash the like button. We need help. We need help. People are fading fast. So I'm just looking at this chart and saying, to me, pricing Micron like it's one of the worst companies in the S&P 500 doesn't feel like FOMO to me. Those are the numbers. You can make of them what you will. You can make up your own mind. I know I have. I just bought more Micron in the 900s because I think it's going to easily get to 2,000. Not financial advice. That's my opinion. I don't know the future.
David, I don't know if you know what S and R's are, but that's what you do. You put those down in Cuba and test them out.
Right. Well, it doesn't have to be Cuba, and it can be, remember, you were joking about Greenland, half joking, but I think you were also half serious because it's very cold in Greenland. That is weather that is very conducive to data centers. So it's, first of all, there's and I'll get the number wrong, but there's 40,000 people that live in a space that's, twice the size of Texas. So you can correct my math, but it's something like that. So you're talking about a vast, barren wasteland. I think they have a lot of rare earth materials. I think there's a lot of mining that can go on, that kind of stuff. And the world needs those. So some of that's going to happen.
In order to get to absolute zero, you have to go in Greenland. You have to build it there.
The cost goes down dramatically. You're talking quantum.
Quantum. It's going to become quantum on Greenland. That's where I would do it.
I would do any data center in Greenland because the number one problem with these data centers is the massive amount of heat generated. They need cooling. This is why Canada is such a great place for these. Other than politically, it's not a very great place, depending on which part of Canada you're in. But weather-wise, it's ideal. So especially as you just talked about, which, you know, with the small modular nuclear reactors, you can just bring the power with you. Right? You don't have to create infrastructure in the middle of nowhere. You can go 500 miles from the closest house and put your own power down and build your own data center. And they will be doing that. And one of the people in the comments is saying BitDeer's doing that in Norway.
And there's power out there. I'm working on a deal at Pakistan, and for power right now.
Is that a real place?
Yeah, Pakistan.
It sounds like something from an Austin Powers movie.
Oh, behave.
So why did Meta crash the data center stocks? That is the question somebody just asked. Let's get into it. What happened? I need just 1 second because one of my articles closed that I wanted.
You could do Paraguay. I hear it's really hot down there.
We're not looking for hot. We're looking for the opposite.
I think personally, as you looked that up, Tom, why did Meta crash the data center stocks? Because I think everybody's afraid of the 10-pound gorilla.
Give me a second. I don't know why I lost this one.
He could be a 20-pound gorilla. Gorilla.
It's a big gorilla.
It's funny because when I was a kid, I had a speech impediment. So if I mock myself, it's okay. See, if you had that problem before, you're not picking on anybody. You're just picking on yourself. If you overcame it.
Which you did very nicely, George.
Thank you, Tom. 15 years of speech pathology. Just the name alone says it all.
Okay, so here's an article. There's 10,000 out there. Meta Compute launch sends AI compute stocks tumbling globally. Let's just hit the highlights, and then we're going to talk about what I think about this. We'll see about what you guys think about this. Meta's plan to sell surplus computing power hit chip stocks hard on Wall Street. Meta's own shares climbed nearly 9% on the news, and they were up a lot more than that intraday. The announcement flipped years of assumed AI compute scarcity into a supply warning. It erased billions in semiconductor and neocloud value in a single session. So I want you to remember this statement. The announcement flipped years of assumed AI compute scarcity into a supply warning, meaning the number one concern on the supply chain, there's two that could vie for first place. It's data center, energy data centers, and memory, especially the high bandwidth memory. Those are there's other choke points as well. Those are the two glaring choke points. People are building data centers as fast as they possibly can. And by the way, that's not very fast. It takes a long time to go from zero to operating high-performance computing data center. So it's
2 years minimum.
Oh, if you're perfect at everything and you get lucky. It erased billions of dollars. So it did do this, right? It erased billions of dollars in semiconductor and neocloud value in a single session, right? All those stocks tanked. All of our stocks tanked because, well, what good's IREN? I'll use a different company because I've talked about IREN too much, but you can, whether it's right, Keel is dedicated, they're not doing Bitcoin anymore. They are a data center company. They're a power data center company.
Yeah, but have they signed any deals?
Not yet. I understand that, but that is not a point of this particular. Insert company here, whether it's TeraWulf or CIFR or particularly CIFR and IREN, which I'm going to circle back around to for a specific reason. Those companies got destroyed yesterday. Why? Because Meta is building a business called Meta Compute. The unit will lease idle data center capacity to outside clients. The approach mirrors SpaceX's model. SpaceX has rented spare capacity to firms including Anthropic. Couple reasons why this is going on. So people thought this was kind of weird because SpaceX owns... Essentially, they own the company that owns Grok. So SpaceX has their own AI. So if they have their own AI, and this is a conversation the market just had to digest recently, if they have their own AI, why on earth are they renting out their data center space to other companies? Don't they need it themselves? Or is AI bogus? And it's all smoke and mirrors. I'm going to answer that question definitively in a few minutes. We'll come back to this exact point. For years,
I know. Thank you, Sour. That's been my whole point for a long time.
It's frustrating. So Sour Mountain Gaming said, anybody have any thoughts on why none of the miners have gotten any deals for several months now? And I will tell you, twice a week, I go through every single investor relations section of all of these companies, and it's starting to get stale. A lot of these companies haven't had a press release in a long time, months. And we used to get multiple per month, and now they can go 2-3 months in between. So it's an adjustment, but
if demand is so high, shouldn't they be getting deals?
The demand is high, but what's happening is
Tom?
Yes.
Is the demand that high if they're not getting deals?
Okay, so most of these companies, data centers, are not built out, ready to plug in. So even the companies that have been building for a long time, the majority of what they have is not ready. They don't have stacks of high-performance computers in them to plug in and start using. So there's several different stops on this train station. You got to get the power locked down. You got to buy the land. You got to get the power. You got to build the infrastructure, the building. Then you got to build out the wiring and infrastructure to create a data center. And then you got to buy all of the equipment to fill up a data center. And we're at various stages in this process. We're going to see more and more. A lot of this is coming online. And so a lot of companies, for the big companies that are desperate, when they go to a company like CleanSpark and CleanSpark goes, okay, listen, we got 1.8 gigawatts of power under management. We're going to have a data center ready in 15 months. They go, okay, well, we need one yesterday. So maybe we'll get back to you. We're probably going to make a deal with you because we're going to need one 15 months from now too. But first, we got to go get the one. I'll give you an example of my own personal experience. Number one, my ChatGPT crashes every single day now. I will admit, I am doing a very complicated project, and it's consuming a lot.
DeepSeek.
But it crashes. I've tried every one I try. They all crash. And here, everybody raves about Claude. It's the best thing in the history of ever. Claude limits your data.
Well,
so even if you're paying,
you're not doing. Sorry, but you're not doing it properly.
Whether I'm doing it properly, improperly, the reality is when I ask it a question, it can take. Sometimes I have to stop typing because it's so frozen, it won't even take the letters that I'm typing in. And then to give me an answer, it'll take 10 or 15 minutes. And then what I have to do is create. Essentially, I have to ask that chat.
Yeah, but it's throttled because of Microsoft. It isn't throttled because of AI.
No, it is because it is throttled because of AI, and I'll explain why. It gets to the point. Every chat I have gets to the point because I am doing a complicated project. And at some point when the individual chat gets too long, now you can create a project and then you can have 100 chats inside of that project. And that allows it to share a little bit more without having the burden of everything that's happened. So what I'm doing now is creating 1 or 2 new chats every day because at some point I've had it say things to me like, I know this is not what you want to hear, but I can no longer perform that function in this chat. And the first time it said that, I said, like, what does that mean? You've done this 100 times. And said, I know, it doesn't make sense, but I don't know how to do it. And I can't figure out how to do it. And I don't want to waste your time pretending like I can do it. You need to exit this chat and try again in a new chat. That chat is overloaded. So then, I switched. I've been using the intermediate one because it works a little faster. There's a higher level, Pro. I switched it to Pro, and an hour in, it said, you have used your daily allotment for Pro. And I literally put in, I said, what daily allotment? I'm a paid user. And it couldn't even read my question. It's just, its response was a red warning that says, you've exceeded your daily allotment for Pro. So
too bad, so sad. Bye-bye.
They can't, all of these companies are maxed. They're all totally maxed, desperate for power. And the thing is, they will sign these deals for power 15 months from now or 24 months from now. Just like if you remember at the peak of, sorry, George, just 1 second. At the peak of Bitcoin mining, the companies that made Bitcoin miners, they quadrupled their price, required 50 or 100% upfront deposit, and said, I'll get you a machine 6 months from now, a year from now, maybe later. You'll get it when you get it. Go away and give me my money. That's where that got to. That's where they are right now.
But you got to take in consideration, if there is demand that is so high, they would just give the money and wait the 15 months. You know what I mean?
And they're going to, and they have done a bunch of those. But
what you're seeing is, but hang on, what you're seeing here is, I think they figured out a way to use more local power than they could possibly imagine. Meaning that, like you were talking about how you can build a program and then they wait for it to be free and then they go and run it again in something else. I think they've got better at management as running their chats, so to speak.
Who was it? Somebody put in the chat, you're going to know the company I'm talking about. Last night, I think it was one of the Mag 7. It was a $500 billion plus or bigger company. They hired back 12,000 people because their AI agents took so long and were so expensive that they said, we got to ditch it and go back to people for now. This technology is not ready for us. So here's the bottom line. We can only speculate. Have they overbuilt? If they have, all these things will turn out to be cyclical.
I don't think they've overbuilt. You know what? I actually think they are in the process of overbuilding, like anything else. You know what I mean? But I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's a great, as you and I talk right now, I think it's a great opportunity for a social media company to go out there and get a lot of cheap ass processing for AI and storage.
If there is cheap processing, I don't know that there is cheap processing. I know.
I have a feeling you can name a price. So there's a website I go to where you can pick and choose who you use. And so, for an example, you can do you know who Vercel is?
No.
Okay, so Vercel is another company that it does AI. And what you can do is you can use multiple AI agents at once to do the operations that you're talking about doing. And that's what you need to do, by the way. So like I'll use DeepSeek to do this aspect of this program, and then I'll go and I'll use ChatGPT because ChatGPT is so much more expensive. But that's what's happening.
So what do you think that means?
I think that AI is really good for people who know how to program, but if you don't know how to program, AI gives you hiccups all the time. And Meta just said it in a press release yesterday, saying that, AI adoption's taken a lot longer than we thought. So to me, that means that they might need to bring people back too.
So yeah, we're not done talking about Meta because we read the headline, which was Meta Compute launch sends AI compute stocks tumbling globally. They followed that up by saying they've kind of flipped the script. This went from being the thing that we were in short supply of and desperate for to now it's in excess supply. So I'm going to get back to that. I want to show you guys something because I think this is where people don't understand what's going on. And someone in the comments just said something about this. Let me find it. It was something about there's only going to be one winner. Yeah, Dave said, I personally believe there can only be one winner, and OpenAI and others are just hemorrhaging money that does not exist. Where is all the money coming from? Well, the money's coming from the Mag 7 in large part, right? That was the reason Meta stock was tanking is they continue. They went from, I think, 20 billion in CapEx a couple of years ago to like 70 billion last year. Then this year they forecast it was going to be 125 billion. They recently just upped that to 150 billion or more this year in 2026. And all of the Mag 7 have similar storylines. They're spending hundreds of billions of dollars building all of this out. Now, just because they spend the money this year doesn't mean it's going to be up and running this year. All this stuff takes years. So even all the money that's going in is still years away from actually providing any compute. Now, the money they put in 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, these guys have been building this out for a long time. So there is compute out there. I want to show you guys. Let me see if I can find it again. This is not the right one. Okay, so this is the other one. What Meta announced is the big takeaway everybody took is they have extra space. They are going to be renting out high performance computing. But that's not really what their announcement was. Their announcement was they're getting into global cloud computing. They are going to compete in they're going to compete in the space with Amazon Microsoft. So I asked spelled that wrong, which companies have the largest cloud computing revenue, top 5 by annual revenue. Okay, so this drops off a map fast. Amazon, $150 billion a year in revenue. This is the very business that Meta is going after. The ancillary revenue, what Meta came out and said is, listen, we're spending a truckload on infrastructure. What we're going to do with it is we're getting into cloud computing, and we want to compete with these guys because that's a really big market. In the meantime, our servers aren't full. So in order to bring money in, profit, to offset a lot of this CapEx, which has spiraled, we're going to lease out some of this on. That's not their end game. That's not the end game here. So Amazon dominates this, $150 billion. Microsoft Azure, so Amazon's AWS, you guys probably recognize these names. Microsoft Azure, they hold about 21% of the market. Amazon's 28%, somewhere just under 140 billion. So they've almost caught up. Google holds 14% or 80 billion. That's it. That's the list. Number 4, Alibaba, 16 billion. Number 5, Oracle, 12 billion. There's only 3 companies that do this at scale. What Meta came out and said, if you read their press release, they want to do this. They think this is, and this essentially is the end of that train I was talking about. The beginning of the train is buy land, get a power agreement, get all your permitting done, build a building, bring infrastructure to the building, then fill it up with computers. That's the last step. That's what Meta wants to do. That's what Amazon does. That's what Microsoft does. That's what Google does. And I brought this list up for a specific reason. Amazon's the number 1 company in the world at doing this. Amazon leases compute from CIFR. Amazon is a customer of CIFR. So the fact that Meta is getting into this business doesn't create less customers. It actually creates more customers. By the way, Microsoft, who's the second biggest company in the world at doing this, they're a customer of IREN. They lease compute from IREN. So those are by far the 2 biggest companies in the world that do this, and they're already customers of these companies that we're looking at. So this is where it's going to come from. Now, I did have a schedule, and I can't find it. I might just re-ask so that it... Let me just get the list back up, because as surprising as that list was, and it's not too surprising, everybody knows there's a couple of companies that dominate that space. But those companies, the most important takeaway for me is those companies are those are the biggest potential customers that companies like IREN and TeraWulf and CIFR and Keel have. In addition to the next list I'm going to show you, which is the monster customers. Give me just 1 second to recreate this because it closed. All right. The top 5 LLMs by direct revenue. So somebody talked about there being 1 winner. I think there could be 2 or 3 winners. There's not going to be 100 winners. But look at this list and you're going to see Remember I said Grok, SpaceX leases out compute? You're about to see why. Number one on this list, Anthropic, which is Claude. $30 billion annual revenue run rate. $30 billion. They are the largest. It's very close. OpenAI, ChatGPT, is in second. 20 to 24 billion annualized run rate. Google is in third. That's the Gemini family. From 20 to 25 billion, Google drops down to 2.5 billion. You've fallen off a cliff. Once again, you've got two companies, and if you want to stretch it, three they're this entire industry. By the time you get down to four, you're at Grok, XAI, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of SpaceX. Their revenue is $1 billion. So why are they leasing out their infrastructure that they built? Because they're not going to be one of the winners. So they got excess space. You know who doesn't have excess space? Anthropic and OpenAI. So that's what's going on here. You'll notice distinctly missing from the list altogether is Meta. Meta's AI collects almost zero revenue. Everybody knew they're not in this game. They're not abandoning AI, right? And they have internally they use their AI. They created their own AI. It's what's it called? Lamb or something like that. So I might be pronouncing it wrong. They use that internally to optimize their own advertising, to increase their own revenue and their own efficiencies. But they are not a large language model that's going out to the public that's going to require monumental amounts of data centers. No, they want to be the data centers. They want to compete. They don't want to compete with Anthropic and OpenAI. They want to compete with AWS and Azure, right? Amazon and Microsoft. So this press release, by the way, one of the big reasons Meta's stock has been crushed is everybody's been scratching their head going, what do you need to spend $150 billion on AI for when you don't even really have AI? How is this going to pay off? What is the payoff on this? Well, they answered the question. So I think everybody's got this totally wrong. We're going to do a poll and see if you guys agree or disagree with that. So is memory chip trade dead? 70-30. Still think it's alive.
I mean, hey, it can't be dead yet. We got at least another year, maybe probably 18 more months before I would reassess that question.
I totally agree. I mean, and nothing lasts forever. These aren't going to go up for eternity. I would think at a point, all of these companies are going to, first of all, you can't continue at 500% growth a year. So that's going to slow down. They're going to turn into an Amazon or a Microsoft or a Google who they're able to maintain 10 or 15% growth over time. What has happened to them in the past is they get into a bubble where they can charge so much money and sell so many more chips, and then all of a sudden they fill the demand and nobody needs them. And then it goes down. That's what people are worried about. I think, we're 5 years away from, these data center build outs or more, right? Even if they end up building, here's the thing, even if they end up building way too many data centers, it's going to be a long time before they even know that that's true. So, for the next, as a thesis to own the stock and where it's going for the next 12 to 24 months, directionally, I think That's why I am buying Micron. I probably will sell all of it. A lot of stocks I like to hold, buy and hold for longer periods of time than that. But I think this will be a quick one, 18 months, and maybe I'll be out of it. We'll see.
I'll take my head in the case. So I need insurance crazy Queensland. That no one expected just time on. Okay. To be such a huge challenge.
All right, new poll. Let's just see what you guys think. Does the Meta announcement mean that data centers are in trouble and supply has exceeded demand? That is the narrative. That's what we are being told. That's what the market just did. Everything AI just crashed and the Mag 7 just rallied like crazy. So now, 2-day sample, the market does stupid things over the course of 1 or 2 days. But is this the new trend? Or was that a knee-jerk, ridiculous reaction? You make the call. Just going through my notes to see if I missed anything big. So just worth mentioning, IREN and Keel were added to the Russell. So obviously they did not get a pop on that. IREN's down 10% on the day. Keel's down 15% on the day yesterday. And let's go take a look at what these stocks did this week, because this will tell the tale. When I say that Meta announcement destroyed AI, wait till you see this chart. There's an outlier that has a different story that we can talk about. Here is this week, and it was a short week, 4 trading days. Microstrategy, set that aside. Something totally different is going on there. We can talk about it. Bitcoin was actually up this week, right? Bitcoin rallied. The Bitcoin mining data center stocks decimated. This is one of the worst weeks they've had in years. Deal down 24%. CIFR down 23%. Cleanspark 23%. Riot 23%. ABTC 22%. Core Scientific 21%. HUT 21%. Hive 20%. BitDeer 19%. TeraWolf 18%. IREN 18%. The big, giant, massive winner on the week was Marathon, down 15%. And that's only because how much lower can it possibly go? But it still got wrecked. Now, MicroStrategy was up 22%. Just to put things in perspective for a minute, MicroStrategy was down 27% last week, and it's down significantly more than that on the month, or it was before this day. So they had a huge problem. They took some big steps to solve their problem. We talked about this at great length on the members-only stream.
Tom, it'd be real interesting to see how much of this loss came in on 7-1 and 7-2.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
No. Which kind of makes sense. It's a new quarter.
It's a new quarter, but it was because on 7-1, Meta said, we're going to lease out data center space. And everybody said, okay, AI's done.
Yeah, I think
they rang the bell. That's the top.
I think it was just an opportunity for big money to circulate out. You know what I mean?
I agree, but it's a narrative that was spread. If you watch Bloomberg, if you watch CNBC, if you watched Fox Business, whatever your channel is, if you read the Wall Street Journal, they all rang the bell. Michael Burry shorted Micron. Wait a second, because I want to get it right, because I kind of take it personally. One particular part. Greater fool. Michael Burry called the chip stocks recent rally driven by FOMO and the greater fool theory. There's a sucker born every minute type of deal. So he thinks this stock is stupidly overpriced. Even at a 9 forward PE, which is almost the worst forward PE in the entire S&P 500, he thinks that this stock is living on FOMO right now.
86, Tom.
86 likes?
Yep.
We're never going to make it. Tough week.
2 good weeks, 1 bad week. New quarter.
I guess. Well, and it was a holiday in the U.S. today. So FOMO and the greater fool theory. That I'm telling you, all is a hyperbole. It's never all. The massive common theme over the last 3 days has been AI is overdone. We told you so. And this proves it. And all these data centers are in big trouble.
So you don't think AI is overdone?
I think we are early in the AI rally.
I mean, this is something that changes right now, as far as I can see it, it's a forever technology.
Yeah, this is in a line of, this is industrial revolution type scenario. This is the internet. This is the combustion engine. This is not the metaverse, for instance. This is not 3D printing.
No, yeah.
This is not Google Glasses. This is, monetarily speaking, it's already dwarfed all the other things that I just said. Now, adjusted for inflation, that's probably not true of the Industrial Revolution, but it's dwarfed the internet. And the thing is, all these companies are making money. The companies on the AI supply chain are all having the best years they've ever had. Every single quarter is the best quarter they've ever had in the history of their company, quarter after quarter after quarter. The people that are spending the money to build out the infrastructure are having the best quarters they've ever had, quarter after quarter after quarter. Now, does the music stop at some point and everybody realizes it's done? I don't see how that can be true. I don't see the path to that. 37% of you do see the path to that because you think that this is the death. Well, maybe not the death, but big trouble for the data centers. And I don't think it is at all. I think when we're done, you're going to see we will all come back and meet when Meta announces they just made a big deal with TeraWulf or CIFR or IREN to lease space. Because I believe that day is in the year 2026.
Well, it's got to be. I would imagine that's why I said that about IREN. And it just seems like it makes sense, you know?
IREN's got deals coming. There's some companies, IREN got a big head start. TeraWulf got a head start. A lot of companies have been talking about it longer than they've been doing anything about it. But there are, Core Scientific was doing this years ago. Now, they didn't scale up very fast. IREN has blown by them. But they did go through a bankruptcy in the middle and all that stuff. They went through a failed merger acquisition right at the last second. Their shareholders voted no on what everybody assumed was a done deal merger with CoreWeave. Sourmelon Gaming said, I keep hearing a Meta Cleanspark deal. That would be perfect. Nothing would make me happier. A, because Cleanspark is one of my biggest holdings, and B, because it would prove the thesis we just talked about that Meta's going to provide more customers, not take them away. So that's what I think.
Larry just said it's coming like a freight train. No stopping it or stopping AI. Nothing we can do at this point in time.
Yeah,
All that we can do is control it and try to get in front of it and design some really cute robots.
I get why it's the next big thing. For as much as I complained about the fact that ChatGPT keeps crashing on me, the thing I just built in there, I mean, I don't even want to say it out loud, but it can do half my job for me now. Took me a couple of weeks and pain and suffering, but that's not very long for the productivity I'm going to get out of it. So, and we're early, right? This stuff's only going to get better and better and better. Think about how much better it is, ChatGPT or whatever one you're using. In all likelihood, it's either Anthropic or ChatGPT. We just saw those are 90+% of the marketplace. Think how much better they are today than they were 6 months ago. Think about how much better they are today than they were a year ago. These were a joke a year ago.
And here's the next thing: how much longer, and then there's that, I'm going to call it arbitrage. I don't know if that's really what it is, where it doesn't go 1 for 1. It's like 1 for 10, 1 for 50 of the advancements that they make. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, there could be the law of diminishing returns on unless you think it's going to accelerate. I think we're getting through the process.
There could be 1 or 2 more accelerated returns, but then after that, I would imagine it will go down.
Right. There's still plenty of room for improvement, but the pace at which they have improved these is way beyond what my expectation was. All right, I'll take back. Sourmelon Gaming said, whoa, don't hate on 3D printing. I'm not hating on 3D printing, but I will tell you my one-time watch list of 3D printing companies is a worse nightmare than my watch list of EV companies. So that didn't go well. But how about I'll throw drones in instead? Amazon was going to deliver all their 2019 Christmas presents via drone. That was 7 years ago. They delivered none of them 7 years later. So, and drones have a function and a purpose. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. But it's not the next big thing. This is what I'm saying. Like, AI changes the game. Airplanes changed the game. Right? There's things that just there's no going backwards from this. This is just now how it works. The supercomputer in everybody's pocket right now changed the game. The phone in your pocket is multitudes more computing power than all of NASA had when they were sending ships to outer space in the late 60s.
You think they landed on the moon?
I specifically didn't say land on the moon, just so you wouldn't try to call me on that. If you don't think they landed on the moon, you got to admit they were launching rockets. So Dave's saying railroad, quote, bubble destroyed millions, if not billions of dollars. There can only be one or two. Failed AI CapEx will be absorbed into bigger railroads, data centers. But the thing is, you got to look at it two different ways. You're looking at, is it going to be Anthropic or ChatGPT or Grok? I'm looking at the data centers is, I don't care which one of those wins. They need data centers. They can't exist without a data center. Whoever wins is going to win big. Whoever loses might cease to exist. But it's like the internet itself. A lot of those the pets.com, for instance, that may not have been a very good investment, but the internet is a million times bigger than it was during the .com bubble, and that's conservative. It's probably hundreds of millions of times bigger than it was. Remember, we were on 28-bit dial-up at that point. The internet was nothing. They make machines right now whose hard drives could have backed up the entire internet on one hard drive. When the .com bubble happened. So like this is, so you're right. If you bet on Grok and they cease to exist, then you lose. But if you bet on AI existing, then you win.
Should I guess I should tell everybody. I'm not, it's not 100% done, but I figured out I made a grocery store AI. Because people complain about prices being so high, and they're not. They're just not. I mean, you might not be able to get what you want, but you can still feed a family of four for $150 a week.
Now I know what you're talking about, and you told me about that. You got to do the work.
And you're still eating chicken, you're still eating beef, pasta, rice, beans, fajitas, my favorite peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But I mean, it's amazing. You have to go to, multiple stores, but it works. And I'm in shock. Tom, I'm in shock how cheap you can get it. That's what I'm in shock about. You can get it down to $70. I mean, not where you live, but
I'll throw a shout out to Aldi's.
Oh yeah, they're in there.
If people don't, my mother used. I'm going to sound like I'm like 100 years old, but my mother would clip. I'm not a boomer. I'm not a boomer. Not that
it makes you mad.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. All boomers are welcome. But my mother would clip coupons, right? She would scour the papers. She wasn't one of those people like some people are obsessed with it and they go buy $300 worth of groceries for $2.27. No. I'm just saying she was mindful, thoughtful. She went to a couple of different grocery stores to get different things based on the price. Like, that's how people lived. That's how you raised a family back in the day. Now it's like this is the hyper speed we're on. We just press some buttons on our phone and somebody delivers our groceries to our front door.
But none of what I've done is prepared meals. I refuse to have that in there, which you could, but it's just not in there because it's so much more money. If you want a salad, you have to make a salad. If you want, chicken parm, you got to make chicken parm.
See, you started him out. Sourmelon Gaming jumped on. Boomer Tom. And then Dave said, boomers are rich. I'm a boomer wannabe. And Larry's a boomer. Listen, I have two brothers and a sister. They're all boomers. It just so happens I'm the youngest, and I'm not. So,
Well, and they don't really talk to you, do they?
I can listen. It's a few years difference.
It's amazing because it's a world of difference when you really think about it.
I hate to say it now. I don't want to. I won't even say it. All right, I'll say it. I have had some conversations where everyone at the entire dinner is my hip this, my blood sugar that, it's like, come on, guys.
Dude, and all of that is wheat. Sorry, I won't get into it. All of that is poison in our food. And that was one of the reasons why I wouldn't pick out prepared meals, by the way.
I'm saying.
a 5 ingredient or less guy, by the way. If
To me,
it has more than 5 ingredients, I'm not eating it.
That's a great idea. Oh, wow. We're actually creeping in on 100. Incredible. I'm just saying, I envision a bunch of people sitting around a table talking about their physical ailments in a nursing home. Not at the, restaurant you're eating at, I guess. Let's just leave it at that.
I always talk about my prostate.
You do not. Not to me, you don't.
No.
Wisdom said coupons. We actually had to carry our books to school, actually had to write with pencils. Helped us mentally. Don't know how AI will help future gens mentally. So I actually, and now I am going to sound old, but I agree with you, Wisdom. All of that is a problem, in my opinion. I think some stuff's getting lost. Learning is, we don't know how to teach and learn with this new technology. Critical thinking is deteriorating before our eyes. And I'm not going to go gloom and doom on it. We figure these things out eventually. We always have in the past. So there's no reason to think we won't this time, but it's changing. Sour Mountain Gaming, my yacht dream got destroyed this week when Dan Roberts and his brother decided to take $1 billion. I know. It hurts. That's my biggest position. So I'm with you, Sour Melon Gaming. That is my biggest position. I did not see that move coming. I did not sell a single share. In fact, I tried as hard as I could to find an option that was priced reasonably because I do think it's a big buying opportunity. And I'm okay dollar cost averaging up, right? Every single purchase you make can't be dollar cost averaging down, but within a range. If you're up 200, 300, 400, 500, 700%, 1,000%, it's not time to dollar cost average in anymore. Poppy said, one of the most underrated channels. This should have easily 6K live audience. Keep going, guys. Thank you. Much appreciated. We try. We're here. We try to put the work in. Tell it like it is.
Sick. Becky just...
Oh, no.
Poor girl. I think she might have got the flu, yeah.
Ah, that's brutal.
Yeah, the summer flu. Oh, those are the worst.
Does the Meta announcement, this is our poll that I'm going to close. Does the Meta announcement mean the data centers are in trouble and supply has exceeded demand? Very surprising results to me, shockingly close. 40% say yes. The data centers, the very stocks that we follow, are in trouble. 60% say no.
Well, but we gotta get some deals done. That's their thing. We need these deals done.
The question is, while we're not, so let's assume you got to make one of two assumptions. Either the deals are coming or they're not. From an investment thesis standpoint, if you think the deals are not coming, then it's definitely not time to dollar cost average in. In fact, you might want to get out.
But think about this. How long has Keel and Cleanspark been trying to get deals?
Not as long as you think. The last three in were Keel, Cleanspark, and Marathon. Marathon was the last one. But those are the last three in.
But would you say almost 6 months?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah. If there's such high demand, I mean, we're talking, there's supposed to be just crazy demand.
Think of it this way.
Why aren't they getting deals?
I'll give you an example. Let's say you are developing a big piece of land to build 500 houses on. But you haven't even developed the land yet.
Yeah, that's 2 years.
You certainly don't have a single model standing, right? So the next person that walks into your door that wants a house, all they have to look at is a piece of dirt and a floor plan on a piece of paper. That's exactly what the next
analogy.
It's exactly what
this is not a good analogy.
Go ahead.
You want to know why?
Fire away.
Because you think the people buying the houses are like Meta and Google. Those are the guys buying the houses. I would say that they're the builders building the houses. Meta, Google, and they do a lot takedown in the beginning. You don't go and build 500 lots unless you got crazy money.
Well, if you're a developer and you're going to have
hang on. You usually have builders come in and take down lots. It's called a lot takedown, correct?
It's called a lot takedown. I've been on both sides of the lot takedown process.
You see what I'm saying, though? You see, so that's not a very good analogy because that means we're screwed.
And the other thing is,
because the people buying the houses are you and I.
Right. That's,
just like, there's only so many technology companies out there. So they should be doing a takedown of this AI. If there is such a demand, Tom, for AI, they should be doing a takedown right now. Sorry.
Here's my only thing that I would say to you, and everything you're saying is valid. And there's two sides to this argument. The only thing I would say from you is you got to pick a side. I have picked a side. I think we are super early in the AI game. I feel like half of your arguments are arguing that we're very early, and half are that we have a glut of supply that nobody wants.
No, but I think if you just look at, I think it's worth thinking about. Okay. And I think that if you give that analogy that you just gave, which is a great analogy, because you have builders, which are the, technology companies, and then you have you and I that are the guys that, are consuming the product. And if there's such a demand for it, I mean, I know it's a growing demand, you know what I mean? And I know it's going to grow, and I know it's going to double, triple, and quadruple. And we're already out of space now. So I know there's growth coming, but I just don't know if there's as much growth as we think. Because remember, Anthropic tried to do a deal with Cleanspark, and instead they did a deal with SpaceX.
Probably because they could get compute now and when they need it, instead of a year from now, when they're still going to need it, but they haven't. It's like, let's say you're late making your mortgage payment, but your house is on fire. Are you going to go sit at a desk and make your mortgage payment, or are you going to put your fire in your house out first?
What loser took back the freaking 100 likes? You guys get
somebody negatived us.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Sour. Thanks, guys, for your help. Somebody negated us. Must be one of your old girlfriends, Tom.
I don't know. We got some haters out there.
Part of the deal. You understand what I'm saying, though, correct?
It's 100% valid question, and I think that's why we're having the conversation. I'm just saying, I think you got to land on.
you know?
That would be nice to be able to show a letter of intent. Right. Something. I don't. And here's the other thing that I will tell you. Some of this could be an execution problem. Maybe. And I'm not picking this company in specific. I'm just using it as insert company here as an example. Maybe no one at CleanSpark knows how to sell. They've never had to sell anything. Bitcoin miners don't have to sell anything.
It's so sad. You know what? Maybe they should call me up. I should go see Dave or Matt or.
You know how complicated it is to make gigantic deals like that if they don't have the talent. And obviously, I'm sure some people in there, have some amount of skill at that, but the company itself has zero. They've never had to write a deal ever.
We remember what I said. How would these deals get done?
Right.
We don't have 100 likes, so I can't tell anybody. We're still at 99. If we were at 100, I'd tell you guys how do these deals. We all know how these deals get done. Anybody, it's a C-level, has been a C-level executive, knows how these deals get done.
We'll reiterate it on the members only stream on Tuesday.
Oh, it's 100 at the strip club. Sorry, guys. That's where they get done. I mean, it's just, or the bar, or over golf, or just depends what the flavor is. You know what I mean?
That's right. Sour Melon Gaming. Go ahead.
Everybody likes to have fun. No one likes to, go and work. You know what I mean?
Isn't that the truth? Sour Melon Gaming saying the hyperscalers should want to lock up power and housing before the build-outs if it's so scarce. I agree with that. Another problem is...
You bastards.
Wow.
You did it again.
Another problem is everybody's CapEx, right? The people that are buying these, their CapEx is already spiraled out of control. Their stocks have been tanking for the last... basically 8 months. All these companies are down 25, 30, 35, 40%. I'm talking all the Mag 7, right? They're all down. Now, they rallied nicely for a day, but, that's a recent development.
It's probably you.
So they're trying to save their CapEx for stuff they can get now. But I do agree. I mean, listen to Sour Melon Gaming and to you, George. At some point, it's show me the money time, right?
If you give you an analogy of why AI is going to take off, so I use a thing called Lovable. I don't know if anybody's heard Lovable. Lovable is one of the biggest AI website building companies out there. They just went over 100 million websites made in less than 18 months. Okay. 100 million websites. And it's just a matter of time. They need more space now. They're at capacity. Matter of fact, I did a whole year subscription because I know the prices are going to go up. So I did a whole year, and actually I'm thinking about doing a 5-year subscription just to be safe.
To lock in the pricing like Apple did with Micron. So
yeah.
This is another reason that I think, regardless of whether we're overbuilt or underbuilt, the amount of time it's going to take to figure that out, companies like Apple have already signed 5-year deals. Micron's collected like $20-something billion in deposits for 2027. They're sold out pretty much through 2027 with non-refundable deposits. And a lot of their contracts actually have a clause where even if they don't want the chips, they got to pay for them anyway. They don't have to take them, but they got to pay for them. So we'll see. So someday we're going to be at the point where this has gone too far. I just don't feel like today is that day.
No, I think a lot has to do with elections, unfortunately. I think a lot has to do with a lot of different things. The economy, health overall. And how far do we want to take this to?
All right,
We're back
George.
to 99.
This is madness. I never saw losing likes.
Well,
Maybe
they're having fun. It's the 4th of July. Might as well have some fun.
Yes, happy 4th of July to those of you in the United States. Happy Independence Day a few days ago, I think, for those of you in Canada, if I'm remembering correctly.
I have a question. What are you thankful for here in the United States, Tom?
What am I thankful for?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think you take for granted the most in America? America.
I will tell you, I am one of those people who I take for granted how easy technology has made a lot of daily life. And some of it is, stuff that
I'll get it.
For instance, I do have my groceries delivered to my house. I just order it on my phone and somebody brings it to my house. That's a wonderful world.
Outside. Well, happy birthday, Sour. Since what are you going to be 39 again? I think that people don't realize how safe we are. That's the thing I think people take for granted too.
Safety, that's a big one. We have food, we have shelter. I mean, you take all these things for granted, so it is nice to stop and think about it.
No, and we joke and we talk about it, but it's still the best country in the world. Sorry, other countries, but
well, listen, I wouldn't have any problem if you're in a different country. If you think your country is the best country in the world, I don't think that's an unusual phenomenon.
Yeah, tech has destroyed families who specifically did not enter the market since the 90s. I don't understand that exactly.
If they didn't enter the stock market, because the stock market has gone up so many, it's the stock market is insane.
Yeah. Okay.
Now there was a gigantic reset in, I don't remember, was it 07? The Dow got down to 6,700.
Yeah, think about that.
That was the bottom. And I remember, I think his name was Steve Mackey. He was on Fast Money. And I don't watch that show anymore, and he's probably not even on it anymore. But I remember very distinctly, because people aren't usually absolutely, completely definitive in their statements when it's pertaining to investing, for good reason, because you never know what's going to happen. But I remember he gave a speech, and he just said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the bottom. 100%. If you're waiting for it, you missed it. If you think it's going lower, it's not. And that was 6,700. That day was the exact bottom. And we're now, what's the Dow at now?
53 something?
It was at 6,000. It said over 50,000 now. So I think that's what that person's comment may have been. Listen, if you didn't get into the Dow at 6,000.
Well, here, I'm going to tell you something, Dave. I did not have any stocks until 2020.
Right. Well, and that was another good opportunity. There have been opportunities. We're in one of them.
Right, but I've been a real estate guy.
Well,
and I think that is the other side of the coin too. Is that real estate's been good since the 90s. The
only place there's been more money made in the history of the world than the stock market is real estate.
Yeah.
So, and unlike at the market offerings, they're not making any more of it.
I don't know. Do you think that continues, Tom? Do you think either I mean, I think the stock market's going to double personally.
I think the stock market's going to continue to go up. I think real estate will continue to be a good investment. Now, we all know sometimes it's a buyer's market, sometimes it's a seller's market, but as time goes on, both of those things have appreciated in value really without exception. So I'll believe that that's not going to be true when I see it.
Interesting. Did you see one other big thing that happened this week? No, we didn't talk about it. I don't even know if you know about it. And it's called X Money.
I don't know about X Money.
Elon rolled out X Money.
Is it a token?
It's not a token.
Is it a exchange?
It's just you can get X Money on Twitter. It's not a token.
And it's only to be used on Twitter? Is it pegged to the dollar in some way, shape, or form?
I know nothing about it. I just know that it came out to premium members last week. I mean, this week.
Here we go. Now there's X Money.
X Money. And I don't know. Eventually, it's a card, Tom. Yeah. It's a credit card. But that's just the beginning of what it's going to be.
Who knows what's to come? The future's exciting. I'm an optimist today.
Gotta be. Oh, we're going up. We're 103 now, Tom.
All right.
Just talking about life kind of helped.
I think we should talk more about IREN.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal. I personally just think that these things have a way of working themselves out. You know what I mean? I mean, because let's be honest, every time something like this happens, they announce a deal the following week and then the stock takes off. I mean, the fundamentals didn't change on the stock.
That's right. You either believe the story, the only caveat would be if you think that Meta's announcement is a canary in the coal mine, if you will, if that's the harbinger of bad things to come, if that's ringing the bell at the top and AI is all downhill from here, I can't fathom that scenario. I can't fathom it from a usage standpoint. Most people don't even know how to use AI yet. I would say 95+% of people have not. I'm not saying don't use it at all. They use it for fun or they use it to pick where they're going to dinner. I'm talking about using it. They have no concept of what, and it's same thing as Bitcoin, right? We're familiar with this phenomenon. Technology takes a while for adoption. Most people still couldn't explain to you what a Bitcoin is. They know, they've heard of it now. They know the word. They couldn't tell you what it is. And they certainly couldn't tell you what any altcoins are. I had a conversation with a serious investor yesterday. Might have been 2 days ago. And I was talking about Ethereum, and he said, "What's that?" He wanted to buy, everybody wants, their 2 cents of free advice. That's kind of a contradiction. He wanted to know if it was a good time to buy Bitcoin. And he's an older gentleman. So, he has all of his money at a brokerage. He's got a broker that actually transacts everything for him. So he literally doesn't know, the brokerages won't buy Bitcoin. So he's like, I don't know how to buy a Bitcoin. What would I do? How do I do that? And in that conversation, I mentioned, Ethereum's actually down even a lot worse than Bitcoin is. And he literally was like, what's Ethereum? So that's the second biggest cryptocurrency there is. And, he's got an awful lot of money to invest. And he doesn't even know what it is, that it exists. So we are early on all of this technology. The times are changing.
And that was another thing. So you brought up something interesting, Dave. Oh, by the way, Sour, happy 57th. I think you're going to be 57. Ask me why I know, or why I think that at least.
Yeah, that was an awfully specific guess.
It's a very specific guess because I'm like that. I like to be specific. Always live below your means and save money. That's the key to life.
Yeah, and I could reflect on that advice and probably make a couple of changes here and there at the edges. I am not an extravagant person. I have almost no worldly possessions. I don't care about anything, but I do indulge when it comes to food, which is why I need to be on a diet. I just do. You know what I'm talking about, George.
I do. I know I need one. We're going up, Tom, 104. Oh, just so you know, we should go back and find the tape. Oh, fairly good. I called gold 10,000 before it was even out of like 1,600.
10,000. That's enough. It's wild. All these numbers are so crazy.
I bought it I thought about it in silver too. Everybody on this, we were freaking.
You were early on silver, and I can't remember. A couple of our members were early with you on silver, big time.
But the reason why I think that about gold is because I think it's going to 10,000 to get rid of our debt.
Well, that would help if there's actually anything in Fort Knox.
Yeah, really. I better go. I gotta go eat food. Speaking of
all
food.
right, we went way over, but that's okay. I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. Thank you, George. Enjoy your holiday weekend with your family.
By the way, if Tom finally will do it, we're gonna do more streams. We got to do it.
That is on the agenda. More to follow.
We're gonna be talking about different things and not just stocks. By the way. One is going to be prediction markets.
There's another technology just getting going.
AI, baby. That's all AI. Did you hear about that guy who built an AI model for prediction markets? And in less than 6 months, he made $1 million.
Nice.
Nice, isn't it? Yeah. See you guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciation to everybody who smashed the like button. All right. Much appreciation to everybody who is a subscriber. If you're not subscribed, you can subscribe to the channel. It's free, and we also have a membership you can look into. We meet every Tuesday. Brett, thank you very much for the super chat. Brett said, Tom, check out NWST, Northwest Copper. Will roll up hard soon. Let's check it out. I can hang out for a couple more minutes and just take a quick look at this, and it's ticker NWST. Obviously, I can't do a deep dive here live on, but let's take a quick look, see what we're talking about. Oh man, there are so many things we didn't get to today. It's crazy. Copper. So I haven't done my due diligence on copper, but I know copper is another massive supply chain issue. Am I in the wrong? Is this Vancouver? Is this the correct one, Brett? Let me know. Northwest Copper. Whoa. So this is a nano cap. $70 million. But remember, a lot of our stocks were between 70 and $150 million market caps at the bottom of the crypto winter. So it can happen, right? We had stocks run from 200 million to 20 billion. So here we go. This stock's clearly at the beginning. Super low volume. I haven't checked to see if Brett... Yep, he said that's it. Yeah, it's Canadian stock. And, I mean, this must be early days. Very low volume. 139,000 shares a day. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Are they pre-revenue? Let's see. I'm going to look to see if there's any of this readily available, but it looks like they are pre-revenue. So is this a copper mining company? Well, I should have read let me read it. Northwest Copper engages in the acquisition and exploration of mineral properties in Canada. It primarily explores for gold, silver, and copper deposits. It holds interest in the Blank mine and the Lorraine Top Cat mine and the East Niv projects. So apparently it's in multiple locations. I guess they are somewhere in the process of getting going. I know that's the case with a lot of these mining companies. And the thing is, a lot of times you got to buy them before they hit. Otherwise, you're going to miss the run. So these can be somewhat speculative, but if they hit, and you may know a lot more about it than I do, and I wrote a note and I'm putting a star next to it. I'll see if I can dig any deeper into that. But that's a really small one. I don't know how much I'll find out about it, but very interesting. We'll track this and see if this thing hits. But it's hard to say when they're pre-revenue like this. You know, does it hit a month from now? Does it hit 6 months from now? But if you're accumulating, and if you're a dollar cost average type person, and Brett's saying this will be $1 within 3 weeks, so that's almost a quadruple in short order. I might do something a little bit just so it's on my radar. Thanks for the info, Brett. Much appreciated. All right, let's look at Bitcoin. So we're at 62,600. We got the weekend ahead of us. So same mission last weekend. Last weekend, I said we got to cling somewhere near $60,000. We can't let that line slip away. It almost did slip away. Not so much over the weekend, but when the week started, but it rallied back, and now we're, $2,600 above. We got to stay above that, and I would really like to see the next leg up to see this trend continue, but we'll see what happens. And with the data centers, this week was gloom and doom, but these stories change like the wind, so it'll be very interesting to see next Friday if we're talking about how AI is the next big thing, or if we're still in, it's over. We missed it. So enjoy your day, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. And to the members, I will see you guys on Tuesday. Everybody else, we will be here Friday when the market closes, as always. Thanks again, and enjoy your weekend.